Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Warriors Fastbreak here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us. We'll start off the show by talking about women's basketball with head coach Scott Ballard, and a big weekend for you on the road. Southwest and Sioux Falls, both wins, huge wins for your program.
It was a great weekend for us because of who we were playing. Both teams were hot. Southwest had won 3 in a row. Sioux Falls won 9 in a row. And, you know, anytime you go on the road, you're going to have some challenges. But 2 very hard-fought, intense games that we did enough things, well enough to put ourselves in position to win the game, and then did enough things well enough to finish the game. So, it was a good week of practice leading up to those 2 games, and very gratifying as coaches, and I think also our players realize now that how important preparation is in practice leading up to these games, and it really carried over in how we defended and decisions that we made during the course of the game.
Well, defense was certainly a big part of the Southwest game. You scored 29 points in the third quarter and then held Southwest to just 8 points in the fourth quarter and won that one 74-58. So kind of a resounding victory for you guys.
Well, you consider we were down 8 at halftime, and we had a little foul trouble. We struggled shooting the ball a little bit in the first half. But then in the third quarter, Emma Fee made a big difference for us. I think she scored 12 points in the third quarter, and most of them were 15-footers from the high post area. And so that got us going, and then we were able to get Tay Husted some touches in the paint, and she converted, and then Sid was knocking down the 3, and then Allie knocked down a couple, and Klug hit one in the second half, and so we started to develop balance, which we talk about all the time, in the second half, and then we got on a roll offensively, and with both games this weekend, a big key for us was to run both teams off the three-point line without fouling them. And, when the dust cleared, we outscored both teams combined 30-16 from the free throw line, which was a big factor in the game.
You mentioned Emma Fee. She was named NSIC Player of the Week for her weekend, and she's really come into her own this season, showing off what I imagine you expected to see from her when you recruited her. A lot of people outside of our team, in our league, they didn't know how good of a player Emma could be because she played behind Rachel Novotny the last 2 years, and if Rachel got in foul trouble, then Emma came in, and so Rachel had such a great senior year that Emma didn't get a lot of minutes. She'd get some here and there, but she's coming to her own and gained a lot of confidence. The Moorhead game, she scored 27 points and stayed out of foul trouble, and I don't know if you remember, but we had her on the show, I think the week following that game. And, a big factor for her was that she stayed out of foul trouble. Right.
And she was able to do that in both games this weekend. But it was really a tough matchup for our post people because they weren't guarding, a lot of times they weren't guarding, a true post player. They were guarding a bigger guard that would, go away from the basket and was a threat to shoot the 3. But we had, our posts had to prove that they could defend somebody away from the basket, and then we were very conscious of matchups and trying to get smaller lineups in, based on personnel from the other team. But it worked out for us, and Emma and Tay and Sid and Allie, we could go right down the line. We got good minutes from our bench. Saturday we overcame, for probably the only time this year so far, Emily Keek was in terrible foul trouble. Only played 5 minutes the first half. She got 2 quick fouls in the third quarter. We decided to go ahead and started the fourth quarter and see how much we could get out of her. She got her 5th foul like 2.5 minutes to the fourth quarter. So we played 27 minutes without our point guard. And And that's tough when you're not used to having play without that person. But Allie Pickering, thank goodness that she's had a lot of experience at the point in the past. It cut down on her scoring opportunities, but she did a good job taking care of the ball, running offense, getting it into our post people. And, so we did what we needed to do with what we had to work with in order to win those games.
We got about 3 minutes left, and I wanted to get to the Sioux Falls game, but you mentioned Emily Keek, and she had come into the weekend on a great streak of not turning the ball over. Obviously, that's important for the point guard position, but I think it was 3 games that she went without a turnover, and that's got to be great to see.
Well, and she had 2 turnovers in Saturday's game in the form of charges.
Okay.
And I know she was frustrated with that, but at least those kind of turnovers, the other team cannot, get out and convert and, run it back at you. Another big key for us this past weekend, besides the free throws, was that both those teams are very good transition teams. So if you turn the ball over, they're really good at converting. And we made both teams turn the ball over more than we did. So that combined with the free throws and our defense were the biggest reasons we were able to win.
All right, 2 minutes left. Your thoughts on Sioux Falls and what's your takeaway from getting the win against Sioux Falls?
Well, they're a great team. They got 6 seniors, 5 of them play all the time, and we've had some intense games over there the last 5 years. All of them were 1 possession games, came down to the last possession. They made a run at us inside the last 45 seconds, but we made enough plays to hang on and win. But they're not 18-3 because they're lucky. They're good. And that was a big win for us, especially on the road against, a quality opponent like that. And, we'll have a rematch in a couple weeks.
Yeah, and then another tough matchup this weekend as Minnesota Duluth and St. Cloud come to McCown Gym.
Yeah, both those teams, they are the other 2 teams that have beaten Sioux Falls this year. And so now the 3 of us are going to be playing against each other this weekend. Duluth is number 1 in the North Division, 1 game ahead of St. Cloud. Duluth beat St. Cloud both times they played, but they were good games. Probably I think they're the top 2 defensive teams in the league, and we've had some tough matchups with them over the last few years, and we know it's going to be that way again. So we're going to have a good week of practice and do a lot of things really well to give ourselves a chance to win.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, Sydney Lodermeyer will join us right after this.
Perfect. Perfect.
Getting the right look at the right price
Perfect.
is always in style at Cost Cutters.
Located in the professional building in the Winona Mall, 507-454-6030.
Alton Brown joins the worst cooks in America.
Welcome to boot camp.
They come seeking direction.
Can you smell it?
Striving to be better.
I'm a hot mess in the kitchen.
They try
to be so bad. They seem very enthusiastic.
Like messy's up, Riley.
Do you think?
and yet they fail.
What is that?
This is why I don't go into the kitchen.
They are the worst.
I want to go home.
You're stuck here with me.
All new. Worst Cooks in America. Sunday night at 9 on Food Network.
And welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona. Sydney Lodermeyer is here. Thank you for joining us today. Let's talk a little bit about how your role has changed here on the Warrior team in your sophomore year. You've started all the games and had a big three-point performance against Southwest, 4 of 5 from three-point range. Tell us how the transition has gone from freshman year, where you had 6 starts, but you played in all the games, to your role this year.
That's kind of been an adjustment, like from game to game. I don't know that it's something that I've really gotten used to, and that it's just like normal now, because I mean, it'll change depending on who we're playing. So every game's gonna bring something different. But yeah, I've gotten a lot more time this year and a lot more experience, and been given a lot more minutes by the coaches. So that's been really nice, and that's been enjoyable to be able to have a larger impact this year.
And one of the things that we've enjoyed watching when we were covering games is your intensity and what you bring. You kind of fire up the team, especially towards the end of the game. If it's a close game and somebody needs a spark, you're right there. Talk about that and about the emotion that you play with.
That's just natural.
It's
kind of just how I've always played.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember when the coaches were recruiting me, that's something that they both said that they really liked that I brought was energy and intensity. And I had never really thought anything of it because it's just what I had always done and how I had always been while I'm playing. So it's just, I don't know, it's not something that I fake or that is hard for me to do. I just really get excited on little plays and I like to get the team going that way.
All right, and your reaction to what she brings?
It's awesome because people feed off of that, and we tell everybody on our team how much more vocal they need to be in showing, passion and energy. And we tell them all the time, there's two kinds of energy. There's negative energy and there's positive energy. You're one or the other. Well, if you don't want to be negative, then you need to be positive. And some people are more vocal than others because of their personality. But in terms of showing passion through body language and or being vocal, they're both very important. But really, she's just being herself. She's not faking it. She's not having to think about it. She's not doing it for show. She's just into the game, and it's really valuable to us because it helps bring that out of other people as well.
Now, when Coach and I were talking off camera, you heard him say that he feels that the team has grown up now, especially after the wins this past weekend. And it's a young team. Your thoughts as a player, I mean, how has the season gone from the beginning of the year to where you are now?
I would say, like what Coach mentioned, that we've been able to finish games and we've stayed calm at the end of the games. And I think that's just been a matter of that was a decision that players made, that they were going to be able to finish these games and they were going to be able to stay focused and be able to get the wins in close games. I mean, we also have a lot of freshmen, but I think that I don't think they play like freshmen. I don't think they act like freshmen. And they've done really well in their roles and with their maturity to make it seem like our team is older than we are.
Okay. What did this weekend mean to you and the rest of the players being able to beat Sioux Falls on the road?
Yeah. This weekend, I just had a lot of fun, honestly. Both games, I mean, obviously Sioux Falls was a little bit closer, more intense in the end, but I enjoyed every second of it, even when they were kind of making their comeback in the last couple minutes and it was getting a little closer down to the wire. I really just, like, the feeling around our team, that, like, the energy our team was giving off was very calm, and it just felt like, like the game was close, and I think, did it get down to 1 point, or was it 2 points?
Yeah, it got down to 1, and Tay had to step to the free throw line with, like, 4 seconds to go.
And I know, at least the feeling I was getting on the floor was that we weren't batting an eye. Like, it was close, but we knew we would be fine.
Okay, and then last minute here in the segment, what do you guys need to do to keep that momentum from this weekend coming into this weekend's games?
Like Coach mentioned, we had a very good week of practice last week. Coaches provided a very good practice schedule throughout the week. And I also feel like we had the players carrying that out really well. We were pushing each other and we were competing with each other. And so it was nice to get those 2 wins over this past weekend. And now we have to keep doing what we did last week and turning that into habits so we can keep rolling through the rest of the season.
All right. Well, good luck this weekend against Minnesota Duluth and St. Cloud.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. We're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, we'll talk men's basketball with head coach Todd Eisner right after this.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Perfect. Getting the right look at the right price.
Perfect.
Is always in style. At Cost Cutters.
Located in the professional building in the Winona Mall, 507-454-60.
This is one of my last chances to do this. I'm going to go ahead and work this year myself. I know there's gold where I'm digging, so that's where I'm going to go. Let's go! Yeah! Get out of here. Oh, watch out! Dustin!
Gold
Gold Rush Whitewater premieres Friday, November 8th at 10 on Discovery.
And welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona. Time now to talk men's basketball with head coach Todd Eisner. And a split this weekend. Tell us your thoughts about this weekend.
Started great, finished, poorly. I loved our guys' fight. Shorthanded this weekend, suited up 9 guys. 6, 7, and 8 had 9 had not played much for us at all, so we were really relying on the 5 guys that we started, and they did yeoman's work. And Kev was really, really good on Friday night, and we did enough to win the game. Shot the ball decent from the 3, as we always need to do, and then got to Saturday and really played our hearts out. What a performance by Caleb Wagner, and Kevion was good also, and it's kind of lost in the 47-point performance by Caleb, but it was an unbelievable performance by those 2, but Caleb in particular, and woulda, coulda, shoulda. We're up 5 with 45 seconds to go in regulation and needed to put it away and couldn't get 2 we needed 1 stop and didn't get 2 stops, and they were able to get us in overtime. So tough way to finish, but really proud of the way our guys played.
All right, let's start out on Friday in the win, 63-55 over Southwest, and you talked about maybe being shorthanded there, but Kieran Goodwin came off the bench and scored 8 points in 9 minutes.
Yeah, we had some guys help us out a little bit. We, Caleb wasn't as sharp offensively as he typically is, and we knew going into the weekend we were going to be shorthanded, so we had to use the guys on the bench, and so we moved Luke into the starting lineup, and I think Caleb played all 40 minutes yet, I'm pretty sure, and so we had to mix and match throughout the game, but Key gave us some good production on the offensive end of the floor, and we certainly needed that. But I thought, we knew Southwest was going to control the tempo. They don't score at a very high rate, and so we needed to be very efficient with our offensive possessions, and like I said, Kev was really big for us that game and put us in a position to pull it out in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, he scored 27 points, and he's scored at least 20 in his 7 of the last 8 games, so obviously he's a big part of the offense, as we know from the past couple of years. What have you seen in his game over the course of the last couple weeks that's kind of helped you guys out?
Yeah, I thought this game in particular, he got to the free throw line. We got to the free throw line, and we actually didn't make very many free throws, so we were 13 of 24, which made the game a lot closer than it needed to be. And Kevion and Caleb are really good free throw shooters, and unfortunately that night didn't shoot them as well as they typically do. But there were a couple of moves that Kevion made in the paint where he sought out contact and got to the foul line, and we need him to do that. I mean, his body, the way he's built, he needs to be inflicting damage on people instead of avoiding, the contact, and I thought he did that, and I thought his aggressiveness was really important. I thought it was key to our win. We got down early in the first 3 or 4 minutes, and I could tell he was fired up to make sure he was going to do whatever he needed to do to help us win the game.
Obviously, the game of basketball has evolved, and your team has kind of evolved in offense as well. You don't post up a lot, but you are driving to the paint, like you said, with Kevion Taylor. Talk about that kind of that difference in the game of basketball and how you've kind of evolved yourself as a coach. Yeah,
we've basically become a live by the 3, die by the 3 team. I mean, I think we're making a little over 12 threes a game, and we certainly want our guys. We do a lot of shooting. We want our guys to do a lot of shooting. We want all 5 of our guys to be able to shoot the ball from the arc. It'll be interesting to see moving forward if my philosophy and our philosophy changes a little bit, because next year the line moves back another foot to the international length. And I think early on in Division I this year, I think some teams struggled shooting the ball from that distance in terms of efficiency and shooting percentages. So, it'll be interesting to see moving forward how our philosophy, if it stays the same. But we've certainly utilized the last couple of years the 3-point line. I would love to be a little more balanced in terms of having somebody that can sit down in the post, in the paint, and demand the basketball and be positive with it, but we just haven't had people that have done that at a high level to the point where we really don't even throw it in there that often. And so, we're certainly seeking out that person in the recruiting process, and if we can do that, we think it'll help our perimeter game even more.
All right, let's talk specifically about Sioux Falls. You kind of gave an overall summary of it. As you said, Caleb Wagner, 47 points, which is the second most in Winona State history. Talk about what he did during the game.
Yeah, he just really got going, and I'm not sure Sioux Falls' stats were 100% accurate. They had Dev only playing 27 minutes. He played 37 minutes. They had a young man from Sioux Falls, they said, shot 17 times. I think he shot 8 times. Mm-hmm. That being said, he was on fire. Yeah. I mean, the final stats had him 18 of 22 from the floor, 6 of 7 from the 3, and if they included his 3-point hoist, to try to tie the game at the end of overtime, I think he did miss one other 3. But either way, I mean, if he's 6 of 8 from the 3, he was just really aggressive. He finished at the rim really well. He knocked down shots from the perimeter. They couldn't stay in front of him. He really put us on his back, and it would have been great to reward him and us, with that type of performance with a victory. And unfortunately, like I said, we needed one stop in the last 45 seconds, didn't get it, and I felt like we kind of ran out of gas in the overtime and didn't play as well as we needed to win the game.
And we talk about this all the time, but obviously it's Caleb and Kevion scoring your points, 73 out of the 85 points. Talk about that and about what you've been seeing from your bench players and players other than Caleb and Kevion, and what you want to see like this weekend.
Yeah, I mentioned to Coach Malvick after the game the concerning part, I guess, moving forward. We see Sioux Falls again in 3 weeks, and we're not going to get 73 points out of those two.
Right.
And so it was 71, I think, in regulation, and I'm not sure what they had at that time, but we've got to find another piece. Obviously, with Al being out this week, and he's been at about 10 points a game. Dre had a really good 2-week stretch, and we credit that to his mom visiting from Italy, and he played really well there on that 4-game homestand, and then kind of reverted back to not being as productive offensively. And we really need at least a third piece. It'd be nice to even have 4 or 5 guys. Dev went scoreless on Saturday, and so. You can balance that by saying, well, you had 2 guys, why wouldn't you get them the ball every time down the floor and let them do something? And there's merit to that too. It's just, I think the really good defensive teams, which I think Sioux Falls is, for the most part, can make those 2 guys have a tougher day, and if that's the case, then we need other people to step up.
All right, this weekend it's a home weekend, Minnesota Duluth and St. Cloud. What are you doing this week to prepare for those games?
Yeah, I think we're going to see the best team in the league on Friday. Duluth, as an example, they beat Northern at Northern on Saturday night, and Brandon Meyer, who is their best player, was their 4th leading scorer in that game. And so they've got production from really the 2, 3, 4, and 5. They've got Drew Blair, a redshirt freshman transfer, who's a very good scorer, very herky-jerky with his game. Lefty, can really shoot it, but knows how to get to the free throw line. They got Alex Elkanen, who transferred in from Wisconsin, in the post, which that was the piece they were missing in terms of they graduated their only senior, or one of their seniors last year was their starting post player, and so he's filled that spot and probably given them a little more there. And then they've got Rorschach at the wing that can really, really shoot it. So, when Brandon Meyer ends up being your 4th leading scorer against the other best team in the North, they've got really good balance, really good talent, and they're defending at a high level. So we'll have our hands full there. And then St. Cloud lost, obviously, a couple really big pieces from the team over the last couple of years. Gage Davis, NSIC's all-time leading scorer, for at least another week until Harrison Cleary breaks it. But they've got a point guard averaging 23 points a game, Trevon Marshall, senior, really, really quick. And then they've got 2 freshmen, Caleb Donaldson and 22, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, who can really play. And so they want the game fast, and they're really athletic on the perimeter, and we'll have to be ready for them on the defensive end in terms of transition and not giving them easy opportunities.
All right, we're going to take a break here on Warriors Fast Break. When we come back, Alec Rosner will join us right after this.
The excitement, the Big Ten basketball on BTN.
Oh my goodness! One-man wrecking crew. And he is fired up. How sweet was that? Oh! Are you kidding me? Oh, that was nice.
Big Ten basketball all season long on BTN and the Fox Sports app.
Exclamation point!
And welcome back to Warriors Fast Break here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Cost Cutters of Winona. Alec Rosner joins us. Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, a tough weekend for you. Tell us a little bit about what happened to you in the past week and what happened before the games.
Well, I'm dealing with a little bit of a growing core injury right now, so I'm just trying to rehab that and get back to health. Also came down with a little sickness, which is never good, so a little bit of messed up everywhere right now. I'm just kind of sick of feeling like this and just want to be back to 100%.
All right, one more question about that, and then we'll move on. Coach said you tried to get into the game on Friday, went through warm-ups and everything. What does it take in your mind to take you out of the game?
Yeah, that was hard for me to tell Coach Melvick before the starting lineups had to be in that I didn't think I could go. I just knew that Luke would probably be better than me on that day. He would give us a better spot to win. I mean, I tried sprinting, cutting, and just felt that I wasn't at my full ability. Couldn't do it without pain, which obviously is never good. And with a couple long season yet ahead of us, like right now in the middle-ish of the season, just to get healthy as I can for the end is most important.
All right. When I was doing some research on you, I looked at your stats from the season, and the one thing that really jumped out to me was the Wayne State game. You ended up playing 53 minutes in that game. Tell us about playing nearly an entire game, 3 overtimes. What that's like in college?
I mean, it's tough. I mean, it comes with a great condition. That's a credit to the stuff I do in the off season, the stuff that they put us through in the fall. You can't do that if you're not in good shape, obviously. So, but just being out there the whole time is a lot of fun. Not many people get the privilege to do that, and I'm lucky that I'm put in a spot where coaches trust me enough to be out there that amount of time and just do everything I can to help us win.
All right, your role has kind of changed from last season to this season. Obviously, we talked about your athletic career in high school the last time that you were on the show, so we know that you can handle it. But what's the difference this year in your role compared to what you were last year?
Mason graduated, and he was kind of the shooter last year. So a little bit of that, and then this, I think, my probably biggest role is on the defensive end. I take a lot of pride in that and trying to guard the other team's best perimeter player every week. And then being kind of like that you're talking about before, like a third piece to help our team be better and take a little bit of weight off Caleb and Kev. I mean, they're playing great obviously this year, but it's obviously nice when you can get a third or fourth piece of scoring.
All right. What does Alec bring to the team this year?
Well, it's been so enjoyable to watch. I mean, we really talk to our guys about, the big jump typically comes between your freshman and sophomore year. And so, we debated with Al last year, are we going to redshirt or are we going to, go? And Al decided to go. And I thought it was good for him because you don't know what games are like until you actually get out there. And so he had an important role on our team last year, but it was certainly coming off the bench. And all of a sudden he walks in the fall and he's a new guy. I mean, he's always been in great shape. He always works on his game, but you could see the confidence. You could see the time that he had put in the gym on his own. And he knew there was a spot available. And so Al went and got the spot. And so he's put himself in a position now where we have to have him on the floor. So like you said, the triple overtime game, we played 55 minutes. We couldn't afford to take him out. Mm-hmm. And so that's a credit to him. He's become a viable threat, from the three-point line. He certainly can drive it. We'd like him to be even more aggressive in terms of putting the ball on the floor and making plays in the paint. He's athletic enough to finish at the rim. He's strong enough to inflict damage on people. And then defensively, we need him out there. And we're, statistically not great defensively, but he's someone that I think makes the other team's wing players have a tough day. And so I'm looking forward to what he can do here, hopefully yet the rest of this year and certainly the next 2 years with what he's done so far.
All right, what does the team need to do to be successful this weekend?
I think we have to first lock in on Duluth. They run a lot of stuff. We watched film on them yesterday, so kind of taking them out of their actions and then making it hard on their best players and limiting the amount of good looks they get and kind of just taking them out of what they are normally good at.
All right, well, good luck this weekend, and thanks for being here today.
Appreciate it, thanks.
All right, thanks for watching Warriors Fast Break. We'll see you next time here on TV25.